Well, welcome to the Always Free podcast. Hope you're doing well. This is the number one podcast for financial empowerment and wealth creation. And if this is the first time you're listening, you're in for a treat, to be honest, because we've got Dan again.
It's good to see you. And the last time I was hanging out with you was a couple of weeks ago on Necker Island.
You can't, I mean, you can't say that very often, can you?
I'm just going to drop that straight
I know, yeah. Last time I saw you, mate, it was Necker.
Literally having breakfast with Richard Branson. And hanging out by... on his private island.
Mate, what was that like?
That was life-changing experience. I don't know about you, but it's something I'll remember forever.
Same.
It was, arriving at Richard Branson's island and being impressed by the way he lives and the way he shows up in the world, and it was very fascinating, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just amazing to see. For me, it was the insight that I got was fascinating. Where I say about freedom and stuff and how we're like 7 years old playing on our bikes, climbing and having a laugh, and then your parents call you in early and it's like, oh God, when I'm an adult, I'll be free.
Yeah.
And then at the top of your game, like we spend that time with like some incredible people there who had spent their time and money to be on that island, to climb rocks, ride bikes, have dinner time stories, and go to bed early.
Swim, get up early. We lived like we were little kids for that week, weren't we?
Yeah.
I've known a few billionaires who actually I would not want to trade places with. Their life is too much, too stressful. They're on a treadmill. It's just overwhelming, the amount of stuff that they've taken on, and a lot of people think about, when I'm a billionaire, that'd be the best thing ever.
Yeah.
I've known some billionaires, and you honestly, you wouldn't necessarily want to trade places with them. It's that amount of money creates just as many problems as it solves.
Yeah.
If not, I would say actually, a certain amount of money creates more problems than it solves.
Well, yeah.
But Branson is one person who absolutely has set his life up.
I agree.
To make it work.
Yeah, I heard a saying the other day about like Richard Branson's the billionaire that all billionaires want to be.
Oh yeah.
And I can totally see that. He's just got it. Like, he's got kids that love him.
His family loves him. He's got his health. I mean, 3 games of tennis a day, several games of chess a day, kite surfing, riding up. There was 35 of us who attempted to ride up that mountain. Yeah. 3 made it, and he was one of them. Yeah. And the other 2 were like in their 20s.
I've got a video of me walking my bike, and then the camera looks up, and he's just on his pedals. And it's like,
it's wild, isn't it?
Yeah, crazy.
76 years old, and he. When we climbed up the riverbed on day 1. There was that annoying moment where he says, "Do you mind if I get? Do you mind if I go around you?" And it's like, oh man, I've just been overtaken by a 76-year-old. He's so fit. He's so crazy.
He's so fit. But he also I remember asking him a question, and I just watched the masterclass with him in it. Yeah, yesterday. I don't know if you've seen the masterclass with him. You should watch it. It's amazing. You've got a masterclass.
Yeah, right. Cool.
Really, really good. It's filmed on Necker in his house, which we were in, which is really weird. And then remember, I asked a question about you attribute a lot of your success to luck. He actually talked about that in masterclass and saying that he's very lucky in the way that he's survived most of the stunts that he's done. I think that's genuine luck. But I used to think luck wasn't really a thing, but looking at the way that he's built his life, I mean,
well, I used to be the same. I remember in my 20s being under so much pressure and working so hard and doing 60, 70, 80 hours weeks, and I remember just working so relentlessly, and someone saying, "Oh, you've been really lucky to become wealthy at a young age." And I remember being like, fucking lucky. Are you joking?
Yeah.
And then I had a complete 180 on luck, where I'm like, I had this experience of going into the slums in India and actually meeting people my age who had been born in the slums, and then going from the slums and going and spending time in a school with kids in the slums in Mumbai, and then taking a 20-minute car ride across to the Four Seasons or wherever I'm staying, and just hitting me. No, Dan, 99% of your life is just luck. Yeah. And that hard work bit, they're all working hard in the heat as well.
I remember you wrote about that in your book, when you hit the shower and your shower comes on.
It's actually quite a relief when you realize that luck is a real thing. And look, there's two types of luck. There's the luck that there's dumb luck that just happens, and then there's actually the luck that you can control. So when I say the luck you can control, you can actually play games that have different odds of success. So for example, playing the lottery, knowing that you've got a 1 in 50 million chance of winning, is very different to if you had a coin flip chance of winning.
Yeah.
So, so there's different, like, people forget, yes, luck is a thing, but so are odds.
Yeah.
And you can do things that massively increase the odds. So for example, if you sit at home watching Netflix, you have very low odds that something lucky will happen off the back of that. If you go out networking and meet some people, there's much higher odds. If you build a YouTube channel and put your pitch out there and put your content out there, there's a high chance that luck will happen. You've moved the odds. I can't guarantee on Tuesday next week you'll get an email that's life-changing, but I can say that the chance of that happening radically increases the more you're doing lucky things.
Yeah.
So there's lucky people that if you hang out with these people, your luck increases. There's lucky places that if you go to these places, your luck increases. There's lucky behaviors and habits. So all of those are things that I would say they're just things that massively increase your odds.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can, even with a coin flip, you can even put the odds in your favor by winning more when you flip heads and you lose when you just a little bit.
Having a bit of a strategy
over a long period of time, you will win.
Yeah, knowing when to double down.
So that's interesting, because that whole coin flip, that would be utilizing the law of large numbers. So over a long period of time, you have to wait for that payoff, and then the payoff comes. So when we talk about business, a lot of people seem to want to chase a lifestyle business. A performance business will take a lot longer to get to see the payoff.
Well, just quickly on this luck thing with business, the odds have significantly changed in what it costs to set up a business versus what a business could provide. So
which means you're lucky to live now, right?
You're very lucky.
So that's
to
luck.
Live now.
Yeah.
If you're willing to play the business game.
Yeah.
Right. But it's like, imagine that there was this casino game that historically the buy-in was $100,000. You had to put $100,000 on the table, and if you won, you might win $400,000 or $500,000. And for a long time, that was just a silly game to play. Very high buy-in, very low payoff. And imagine that the exact same game had suddenly shifted, where the buy-in was a few thousand, and if you win millions. And you go, what's changed? And you go, oh, they've just changed the odds on that game. And you go, what? I thought you had to buy in for hundreds of thousands and you could only win a few 100,000. No, you buy in for a few thousand and you can win millions. Yeah. And you go, oh, why isn't everybody playing that game? Well, everyone's not playing that game because we remember that as a very risky game. We remember it as a risky game. It's not a risky game anymore. So if you say, how much does it cost to set up a business? Well, hardly anything to register a business. Now we have online banking. You literally take a video of yourself and you've got yourself a bank account for your business. You can set up using SEIS, Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme in the UK, or different schemes around the world. So you pay less tax. You've got some protection. You've got your investors have got some protection. There's angel investor communities where you can raise some money. There's technology that just amplifies you to the world, and it's free or almost for free. And it's like, damn, we are living in a time where for a few thousand, maybe tens of thousands, you can be setting up a pretty significant business. And if that gets legs, if that gets traction, but you can afford to fail probably 5 or 10 times without really spending anywhere near what it used to cost to set up a very basic business.
I think one of the things that I noticed actually when we was talking to someone on Necker was it was someone who had an exit, and had a lot of money, and they're an entrepreneur, and we was talking about them being overly optimistic and putting too much into too many investments, and it's like thinking everything's going to work. And what you just said there, there's this perception of value that we have where we think, oh well, if it's that cheap, it can't be what I need, it won't do the job. And I thought about, I had a conversation with one of those guys, and he said, well, I've put $1 million into this business. And I said, but how much did you start your business with? And he said, £500. And I was like, here's the problem. You start a business with £500 and you build that business to say, I don't know, 10 million maybe, which is very doable, which is what a lot of businesses do, right?
Yeah.
But if you then put 1 million into a business, the size of that business must be £1 billion business or a hundreds of millions, right?
You'd want to be really well as an investor. You'd really need that to go up.
But you don't understand business at that level.
Yeah.
So that's one problem.
Yeah.
The second problem is you're overly optimistic, so you think everything works, and you know you don't.
Well, these days you'd be so much better off. Not telling that person to suck eggs, but you'd be so much better off taking lots of 25 grand bets.
Yeah.
Because when you win big, and if you get off the ground, you can get off the ground cheaply.
Yeah. Great. So look, one more thing on luck. I recently saw you speak on Diary of a CEO with Gary Stevenson, who's a friend of mine.
Yeah. Well, you know, you and I are two of the only people in the world who he's debated.
How weird.
He has debated so few people.
Yeah.
He rarely will be next to someone who debates his ideas or pushes back on his ideas. But out of the whole world, you and I are probably the two people who he's taken the time to actually have some debates.
So strange. Yeah. I don't know if we knew each other, but Channel 4, it was Channel 4 and it comes out next year. But he's got an interesting view on luck where he says that unless you're born with rich parents, you know, and you need that luck, then you're stuffed. I'm just interested in hear your thoughts on that. Really.
It's a really complex issue because we all went to a schooling system, and the schooling system gave us a blueprint, and they said, this is the blueprint for success, right? You need to get yourself a job, and then when you can, you need to put down a deposit on a house, and then start paying off the house, and then have some kids, and then you'll be fine. You'll be sweet, right? Just work for one big company. But the problem is that wages have not really improved. Houses have more than doubled. You now need 2 full-time people in order to even get close to owning a home. 2 full-time workers can't then raise kids. So there's this massive annoyance and grievance. Look at New York has just elected an outwardly communist, socialist, horrific mayor, like the worst possible. Like if you imagine you understood exactly how scams work. And you're just watching your auntie getting scammed, and it's like she's like, oh, but they say all the right things, and it's like this is a scam, and it's like you're literally watching your aunt get scammed by a smooth talking little huckster. Anyway, so it's like watching a whole city getting scammed by a huckster. But the reason for it is there's this underlying just annoyance, just this grievance of you told me if I went to university and got that degree and I went out and got a job, I'd be fine from there. It's like, no, unfortunately, the game has changed, and no one's told you that it's changed. It's not your fault. You followed the rules, but the game has changed. And Gary has tapped into a very, very real annoyance. And mind you, the people who vote, people who love Gary, and the people who vote for Mandani, they are people who are tertiary educated. They typically have upper middle class incomes. Right, so working class people don't vote for Zoran. They vote for like the working class. They want economic principles of capitalism. They want a chance to get on up. The people who are most likely to vote for Zoran and the people who are most likely to watch Gary Stevenson are on about 80 to 100,000 a year.
Yeah,
they've been to university. They've probably got a master's degree, and they just. The reason they're voting for it is they're like, I did everything you told me to do. I went to university and I took out that student loan, and now I can't get a house. My husband and my wife and I, we can't have kids because we're working all the time, right? And there's that underlying, I will put a wrecking ball through this system. I don't care. I don't care if it destroys the system. I want to destroy the system. I'm angry. So there's definitely that.
Yeah.
But what's annoying is that from my perspective, it's like I can see how the system has changed. It's just changed. It's just changed where it used to be large corporates that have all the power and all the money, and now it's small businesses that have all the power and all the money. And actually, like you put the same amount of energy and effort into a business, a little lifestyle business, you will earn enough money to buy a house. You'll have enough freedom to be living the way you want. You'll be traveling. You'll be having a great time. You'll be sitting there saying, oh, life's working out really well for me. But people have such a resistance to the idea that they could be an entrepreneurial business. They just like, I just want to turn up and get Goldman Sachs to pay me my money. And
yeah, I think it's I mean, it is exactly those people, and it's a lot easier to accept that. Yes, it is hard. Gary says it's hard, but
also the thing that also drives me crazy with Gary is his primary reason for being pissed off is that his sister can't buy a house in London.
Yeah.
She's a poet.
Yeah.
She's a poet.
Yeah.
At what point in history have poets been highly paid?
I know.
Like, there's 1 in 1,000 poets that actually make any money. It's like,
I always wondered how Phoebe from Friends lived in Midtown Manhattan, but
Phoebe had a trust fund. Phoebe had OF. She had an OnlyFans. That's a horrible thing to say. In today's, if it was today's shit, we would all suspect that. But you know, what annoys me with Gary as well is that the guy gets up at 6 a.m. He goes to a performance-based, performance pay work environment. He gets himself a mentor. He applies himself. He turns up every day. He buys the sandwiches. He buys the coffees. He arrives early. He stays late. And he earns hundreds of thousands. And he gets rich before age 30. He's actually a millionaire before 30. And he says, oh, but you can't do it. It's like, hold up.
Yeah.
You did it, you idiot.
Yeah.
Like, you actually made it.
Yeah.
Like, but let's be honest. You've got to be in a performance. You got to be somewhere where you get rewarded for performance. You don't get rewarded for showing up. You got to find a mentor. You know, you can't sit around being a poet and saying, oh, I've got my PhD in African poetry. Now where's my 6-figure salary?
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. So yeah.
I'm talking too much truth, aren't I?
I think it's great. I think it's great. But yeah, you're dead on. Luck. Just one more thing. There are kids listening to this. One of the conversations we had on Necker was kids being born into. So, for instance, I didn't have anything as a kid, or perceived to not have anything as a kid. Then I had this kind of desire to want to create a security for myself, just as you did. Found out that money bought security, so I naturally became good at earning money and built a very, very stable and secure life. Then you have kids, and kids are born into that security.
Yeah.
And that's their normal. And then what they perceive to be missing is some kind of struggle or strive. So what happens is, and I've definitely experienced this myself, where your kids might have a little bit of a feeling or a resentment that they don't want your help. They don't want your handout, right? They don't want, they don't feel like they're pulling their own weight entirely. And you mentioned earlier, it's okay, you need understanding when luck is okay, and being lucky and born into a position where you can utilize that and actually use it to your advantage, and it's okay to use that. I think we saw Richard actually on Necker went into detail about his answer on that. But you've got kids. I'm interested in your thought on that.
Yeah, I
mean,
mean,
how you're thinking about handling that.
Yeah, I think it's important to try and be. Well, I think awareness is the key. Like, being aware of the balance between support and struggle, because struggle is super important.
I know.
Like, I love my struggles.
Yeah.
You know, I'm really proud that I was a Pizza Hut delivery driver. I'm really proud that I did years working at McDonald's. You know, as a teenager, I didn't do a lot of homework, and I didn't necessarily prioritize my grades because I was having to pay for stuff. And but I learned how to run a multi-million-dollar restaurant before I was 18. You know, so like that was amazing. I've crawled through roofs as a pest controller. You know, I've worked on building construction sites. I've done door-to-door knocking, appointment setting for roof insulation. You know, all of those things, to me, those are the foundations of, I know I can do that stuff. Yeah. I can hit the phones. I can make 70 calls a day. I've done call center work. So it's just that, like, but for me, even when I was doing that, I felt that this was a stepping stone towards greater success. I recognized that working at McDonald's would teach me about systems and business. I recognized that call centers taught me a lot about how to just approach people, make sales, knocking on doors, same sort of thing. Understanding how buildings get built and how they fall apart, also really useful. So I just adore that side. So I don't want to rob my kids of that. I want to make sure that I give them opportunities to struggle, find ways that they can actually have that, and they can clock up those points themselves as well.
It's hard.
Yeah.
because you want them to just not struggle.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. I think too. Also really depends on the kid,
Yeah.
because each as you know, each kid's very different.
Yeah.
And you got to find the balance for that kid. I don't think it's a one size fits all.
You've got 3, right?
Yeah.
So I have 2, and they're polar opposite.
Yeah.
But you've got 3, so I wonder if there's a mix in one of them, or
Yeah. So like my eldest would be very well suited to an environment that has lots of rules and lots of strategies to follow, and would be technical, engineering, IT kind of things. My middle would be really good for anything rebellious, like media, content, something edgy, gaming.
Yeah.
He's a natural born rebel. He just, like, the answer's no. What's your question, right? So he loves to sort of like dig his heels in before there's even a reason to dig his heels. He's a rebel without a cause.
Yeah.
And I love that about him. It's great. My eldest doesn't have a rebellious bone in his body.
Right.
If he says something a bit smart to me, he'll immediately be like, "Sorry, Daddy, you didn't deserve that." Whereas my youngest is just looking for an excuse, And then my daughter, she'd be absolutely perfect for running a multi-million-dollar business. She's just very good with people. She's very even, she'd be really good as a she's very good at managing things and keeping order, and she's good at bossing the boys around. She's the youngest, but she likes to likes to make
leadership.
Sure
Yeah, girls have got that. I think girls seem to be a lot better with that. So lifestyle business. You started working at McDonald's, and you said you knew it was kind of a pathway to greater things. Ultimately, I think everyone wants a lifestyle business initially. Like you want to make money to fund your life.
I wanted a performance business. I always wanted a performance business. I wanted big exits. I wanted to sell for millions. For me, I was very, very much, I want as big as possible and as much money as possible. Enough is never enough. I want to swing for the fences, because I grew up where money was such a hot topic, and I thought money would solve all problems. I grew up in a house where there are a lot of arguments about money, and we can't do this and we can't do that because we can't afford to do this, and can't. So it was very much like, you know what, I'm gonna solve this problem, and that's gonna be my primary focus. I don't care if it kills me. I don't care if it costs me everything else in my life. I just want money. So that was very much my attitude at the beginning, was as big as possible, as quick as possible. So I built we got up to $11 million by age 25, 10.7 million, I think it was, at age 24, 25. And that was literally 80-hour weeks. It was roll out of bed, work, eat, gym, work till you can't work anymore, go to bed.
Was it like a toxic environment in terms of like getting you to spend your money so you didn't have any kind of thing, so you had to earn it again?
It was a pretty amazing environment, to be fair. We worked incredibly hard, but when I was 23, 24, we had operations in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and a bit on the Gold Coast and a bit in other places. I was traveling Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne every 10 days. I was in Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. Right. So I'm bouncing up and down the Australian coast. I'm hiring people. I'm regarded as this. I'm featured in magazines, and we're running these conferences. We ran 174 conferences in 1 year, which was mental. 300 person average at each conference. And so you can imagine what life was like. The conferences ran in 5-star hotels, really amazing, beautiful hotels. And after a great conference, we're out at the top restaurants in the city. We're staying in those hotels. I'm up on stage regularly, and basically, my life is just bouncing around, going to amazing restaurants, amazing hotels, making tons of money, buying a BMW X5 when I'm 23. I can't even insure it. All of this, there was one moment that was just so great. I had my BMW. I had 4 girls in the car, my girlfriend and her 3 friends, and I jump out at the top nightclub bar, Sun Bar in Fortitude Valley, and there's a park right out the front of the bar, and I drive up in my brand new X5. 4 gorgeous girls get out, and they're all dressed up, and I'm flanked on all sides with my girlfriend and their friends, and I walk in, and the security guard looks at me, and he recognizes me, he knows me, and he's like, "Hey, how you going? Haven't seen you for a while." And I know he doesn't know who I am. I know he can't place me. He knows me,
Right.
but he can't place me. But he can see the car, he can see the girls. And he doesn't know this, but he had fired me brutally a few years earlier. I was working behind a bar that he was the bar manager of. And
Wow.
yeah, and he had given me the worst shift ever, cleaning under the fridges, bleaching the drains, doing all this. And then at the end of that shift, he said, "Daniel, I've got some bad news for you today. Unfortunately, this is going to be your last shift." And he did it with such a smile. He hated my guts. He hated me because I was so optimistic about life.
Yeah.
And he just hated my positivity. And he wanted to punish me for being such a positive person.
Did he let you in the club?
Well, he didn't because of the setting. He just didn't
just
recognize who it was. So we walk in, and he like welcomed me in, right?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
good to see you. But I can see the screw. I can see the thing turning. Now it had a glass staircase where, as you're going up, you can still see the security guard.
Right.
Now, as I'm getting up, I look down, and the
clocks.
penny drops, and he looks up at me and just like shakes his head, like, and he gives me. He suddenly became Scott, the
Right.
manager who had fired me, and I gave him a wink. I went, and it was such a great, like, it was. These were great. These were good times. It was that shit that made it all worth it.
Yeah. Right.
That moment was like a total validation moment.
So, all right. So we.
But no, like, look, I don't think everyone wants a lifestyle business. I think 70-80% of people want a lifestyle business.
Right. Okay.
And some people are genuine. Most people don't want to play professional tennis, but there are people who want to play professional tennis. They're not there to play friendly. They want to play to win. They want to win Wimbledon. But it's rare,
Yeah.
So I think the majority of entrepreneurs, the happiest point that they will get to is a team of 4 to 12 people, 7-figure revenue, 6-figure profit after everything's paid, and just a lot of certainty around cash flow. And, basically build a business where they go, "Yeah, this is a really great business, happy days, but I don't need to go bigger than 12 people on a team."
I would agree with you. Why do so many people get that bit wrong? Because a lot of people, the amount of insights that I've got from people coming to me, even in NECA, the people that had sold, they seem to want some kind of calmness, some less chaos, and it seems to be what a lot of lifestyle business people struggle with, whether it's delegation or automations or systems or team or whatever. They kind of start a lifestyle business, but then they become more resentful and stressed as a result of doing it, and they'd be better off having a job. They realise very quickly that.
Yeah. Well, look, you think they'd be better off having a job. At the moment, jobs are not that great. But,
Well, no.
but yes, they haven't built the lifestyle business. It's very similar to one of the analogies I use in the book is I talk about the airline industry, and I say 100 years ago when they first came up with airplanes, they really only had the basic few principles of aerodynamics to get off the ground, but they crashed all the time. There was something like 100 people a year were dying in the airline industry just from testing new designs and testing planes, and hardly anyone was in the industry. There was might have been 500 people in the industry, and 1/5 of them die every year.
Yeah.
And that was basically trying to figure out how do you get planes to fly. And then fast forward to today, there is a narrow set of principles, but if you follow those principles, it's almost impossible. Like you literally, the airline industry is so safe that you are way more likely to die on the way to the airport than in a plane. So we've now got the aerodynamic principles. Now, what most people don't realize is that there are aerodynamic principles that create a lifestyle business, but it's a very narrow path, right? It's a narrow path. You've got to walk. You've got to walk that narrow path. You take one step either side, and you'll fall off. Have you ever seen? There's the Indiana Jones movie where he has to step on these exact.
Yeah.
And everything else will crumble around him, right? And if he doesn't step on the exact foot places, then he falls down. It is so like that. there are exact places to step if you want a lifestyle business, and if you don't step on those exact spots, then it's anyone's guess as to what will happen.
Okay, so let's talk about where people go wrong then. So where do they fall off? What are some of the pain points that they might be listening to this thinking, this is exactly why I'm struggling?
Okay, so pain point number one is that the schooling system prepared you for the opposite mindset as to the mindset that you need. So we came through 12 years of school that basically said, don't be disruptive, don't be an attention seeker, do everything on your own, don't use technology, and be like everybody else, fit in. So it was all just essentially become a good cog that can go into somebody else's machine. We want you as component labor. We want you to be a skilled component piece of labor that fits in with the local hospital or police force or local factory, whatever. But just we want you to turn up and be a good little boy, right? So good little boys get rewarded and naughty little boys get punished. But actually, it's the naughty little boys that go build businesses, right? Yeah. Because they're looking to do things differently. They're looking to be attention seekers. They're looking to get a team of people. They want the smart...
Copy other people.
They're willing to copy you, right? So all of those things that the schooling system basically said don't do, you got to go do all the... You literally take a list of all the things that were rewarded in school.
And do the opposite.
Yeah. Make a list of all the things that got punished. Go do that.
Yeah.
So that the biggest mindset shift is that the biggest barrier is that you have a ton of training that says you've got to do it this way when actually the opposite is true. So that would be issue number one.
And that's why I pulled my kids out. But my son's producing this show, by the way.
Yeah, and he way better for it. Yeah, right? And he's going to hear lessons like this and exactly. all the time. So that would be the biggest issue that's going on.
So to ignore what you were taught, basically do the opposite of what you think.
Yeah, just to be aware that you've got to learn a different mindset.
Yeah, different mindset.
Right? You've got to think differently to the schooling system. The other one is that we used to think in geography. So if we were to say what was a business up until the digital revolution, a business was a product or service that you could find in a place with the name of a business. So you might say, okay, it's plumbing supplies
in
Pimlico, right? And it's Pimlico Plumbers, right? Whatever it is, right? So it's the product and service, it's the place of business, and it's the name of the business. And that is not how business works now. It's now a different formula, which is intellectual property, which is stories that get expressed online.
Frameworks, methodologies.
Yeah, so that's all your intellectual property. Then you've got your ideal customer persona. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, it's an ideal customer who is connecting with you. So I bet you've got people in Brisbane, Bangalore, Boston, Birmingham, right?
Maldives, even the Maldives.
Right? Yep. So man, they should be teaching how to be always free. So you've got an ideal customer persona. Doesn't matter where they are. It is all about that they are a type of person. So I know a particular business coach who only works with SaaS companies, software as a service companies that have already hit $2 million of revenue, but then they've kind of gotten stuck at around 150, 200 grand a month. And then he helps them to get a breakthrough to get to 7 figures per month. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, if you fit the description, I think it's even B2B SaaS. It's not even all SaaS, it's B2B SaaS. But it's a very particular problem. So he has the intellectual property, he's got the ideal customer, that's who it's for. And he can coach on Zoom and he can work with you on Zoom and doesn't need to physically meet you. But you can do a lot of the work. Hugely successful coach, but it's basically just a very narrow niche type offering. I know another coach who only works with dentists.
Yeah. You mentioned coaches. So one of the things I hear a lot of people say, and we're bearing in mind we're talking about the ease of starting a business at the moment and a lifestyle business. One of the things people say, so what would his accolades be? Has he sold an IT business, or can he just coach it?
So take accolade and replace with intellectual property, right? So let's go back to that idea of intellectual property. You have to have the intellectual property that's valuable to the ideal customer. So typically you've got a proof story.
It needs a proven framework.
Yeah, you've got to have some proof stories.
Yeah.
So in both of those cases, they've got proof stories, really strong proof stories.
Whether or not you've done it yourself or you've done it for someone else.
You might have worked you might have been the head of growth for a company that did 2 to 20 million jump. You might have done it 3 times, right? So there's got to be some proof stories that proves that you've got valuable IP. And look, I use those 2 examples as coaches, but there's like IT services companies.
Yeah.
There's so there's an amazing IT services company that I know that's doing like incredibly well. They do a particular level of back-end support for a particular type of company, and that's all they do. And they've got clients all over the world, but it's like this back-end support that solves this problem for this type of company.
Is that August?
No, that's no. August is a PR firm,
Right.
So that's a PR firm I own with Donna, and you basically say we've got intellectual property on how to win awards and which awards to enter for, and then we've got customers all over the world who want to get acknowledgement for their team around the fact that their team have done an incredible job. They want to win an award. So we've got the intellectual property as to how to do that. We work with those types of businesses that want to win the award, and we have customers everywhere. So IP and ICP are the 2 fundamentals. It used to be product and service meets place. Now it's IP versus ICP. It used to be business brand. Now it's personal brand. So a business brand gets no cut through anymore. No one cares about a business brand. We don't care that you're called August. We care that you're Donna O'Toole.
Yeah.
Right. So it's that personal brand that just gets more cut through. And then the final ingredient is what I call the elegant business model. And the elegant business model is that you've made a decision in advance. Do you want a lifestyle business, a performance business, or a unicorn? So your lifestyle business is as soon as I'm living a particular type of lifestyle, that's enough. And I'm not going to push it beyond that. A performance business is, okay, we're building this to sell it for a life-changing amount of money. It's built to sell. And a unicorn business is it's built to be wildly disruptive, and it's going to be a $1 billion exit, and everyone's going to get rich off the back of it because it's going to be so big.
Yeah.
So lifestyle, performance, or unicorn, right? It's like, what are we shooting for?
Yeah. So I did that. I think this is a key to where people go a little bit into the grey, murky water, and that is they keep raising where their lifestyle, so they don't have an idea of what their lifestyle or their ideal lifestyle is in the first place. Like I'll ask someone, what do you want? And they say freedom. And I say, what's freedom? And they say, I just want to do what I want with who I want, wherever I want. And I say, what do you want? And they go, I don't fucking know.
You don't know.
And it's
well,
like,
then you don't know how much that's going to cost.
Exactly.
If you want to hang out with Richard Branson for a week, that's not cheap, right?
Exactly.
That could blow the whole budget.
But there was a time when I had this boss called George, and we used to drive to work in his van into London every day, and we used to have these massive debates, like really hard, like batting heads, and I loved it. It was the best part of my day. And then we'd get to work, have a coffee, like we're best friends. And he was such a mentor to me. But one of the things he said is, I said I wanted this Audi. No, not an Audi, a Lexus IS200. And he was like, how much is it? And I was like, I don't know, like £200 credit finance, And he was like, yeah, how much is it though? Really, is it? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, well, the insurance and, the MOT and the average, wear and tear on tyres and, all this tax and all this stuff and the fuel. And I was like, I don't know.
No
so
idea.
He said, well, unless you've priced all that up, you really haven't considered having that car at all. And, I was like...
You've placed it out of reach mentally anyway.
Yeah. But as soon as I went home that night and I priced it all up, and it was more like £500 or £600 a month.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. But it gave me like this, that is exactly what it will be. So I had like certainty when I could have that car if I had it. And at that moment, I really mapped out, like I went nuts with it and wrote down what I would be happy with in my life. Like I wrote down everything that I really would love to afford to the penny. And I didn't think much of it then, but the conversations I've been having with a lot of people lately, I think that was the key to me getting to a point where I was just content. And then anything else was a bonus. It was like, well, I'm all right now. And I just had this contentness about me where I think a lot of people miss that. So there's something in this book called Know When Enough Is Enough. Yeah. That's such a, like, when is enough, and why do people struggle with that? Yeah,
well, for starters, they haven't clocked it. They haven't thought it through. It's hard if you've never had different levels of wealth, because I remember thinking just more would be better, like always more would be better. But as soon as you start hanging around in certain circles, there is a point where more money creates more problems. So, for example, the utility of money is absolutely perfect say from 0 to $500,000 a year of income, earning more's like clearly going to be better lifestyle. Especially, I'm talking about if you've got a family, right? So call it a few $100,000 a year. You're going to be somewhere. Well, actually, even that, I'm saying like $250,000, earning an extra 50 grand would be meaningful. 300,000 earning an extra 50 grand starts to be less meaningful. 400 grand starts to be slightly. By the time you hit about 50 grand a month, so you're at 600,000 a year, an extra 50,000, like honestly, neither here nor there. You're not sure. Your life hasn't really changed that much, because most things are priced for people on much less than that. So most people haven't figured out that the utility drops off a cliff at a certain point where there's just not a lot that would thing. And then at that point, you're way better off getting fit. You're way better off taking holidays. You're way better off having Monday mornings where you don't start till 11 and Friday afternoons where you knock off early and you just kind of like, or you start your days at 10 a.m. instead of, and you just do a long fitness routine in the morning or something like that. So the value of extra money drops off a cliff and the value of other things becomes, where you'll experience more enjoyment.
So it's just about being aware of other people's issues and taking note.
And then when it comes to wealth, I've noticed with a lot of people that at around 30 million US dollars, which is the classification for ultra high net worth individual, you make a switch mentally where you're no longer really an entrepreneur. You're actually an asset manager. And being an asset manager is a miserable job. Like, it's not a fun job. You're risk averse. You've got to think about the downsides of everything. You've got to be, constantly on high alert of risk and what could go wrong and all of this sort of stuff. So you're basically getting closer and closer to essentially a job you never signed up for, which is being an asset manager. Yeah. Right. And then also,
you're shit at because
or there's an entire industry of people who are there to fleece you.
Yeah, yeah.
And they all look good. They all look and smell amazing, right?
Yeah,
they come across as geniuses and brilliant and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then you make a mistake and it costs an amount of money that most people, wouldn't dream of, and you've just blown a couple of million on some stupid thing. And it's like, this is hard. This is horrible. So your experience of life moves from a joyful entrepreneur who loves creating stuff and who loves taking risks and who loves building teams and who loves trusting others and all of that, to someone who can't trust others, who basically you're an asset manager. So, and then it kind of changes. So what you're looking for is a sweet spot where the utility of money is high, and you haven't hit diminishing returns, where you still get to be who you authentically love being and you get to show up in the world the way you love to show up, and that you manage a portfolio of interests, including your health and fitness, your hobbies, your family, and that essentially you're not trading these things that you can't get back for this thing that doesn't even have any more utility to you anyway.
Mate, so the new book, Lifestyle Business Playbook, How to Have Fun, Freedom and Fulfillment with Your Own Business. Last time we spoke on this podcast, we were talking about the differences between lifestyle and performance business. Something as you've had a lot of insight, obviously, because you wanted to write this. What has been your biggest kind of learnings to make you inspired to write this book?
Yeah, so for the most people, the sweet spot for your lifestyle business is 4 to 12 people on a team. That's the sweet spot. And the reason that you want 4 to 12 people on a team is you get the benefits of having some delegation. You get the benefits of being able to take time off and the business doesn't stop without you. You get the upside of having the fun of having a team. But once you go past 12, you get into team management, you get into really high overheads or higher overheads, diminishing returns on overheads. You also need to hire managers. And then once you're hiring managers, you need more people for them to manage.
Mate, I wanna dig into your brain on this, because I watched Richard Branson say that he, I became a great delegator. It's one of the things he always says. Number one problem is like they get stuck in the track here where they can't delegate. So what is Daniel Priestley's method for delegation?
So very similar to what Richard said, which is I find 2 or 3 people, normally 2 people who I really like working with and really trust, and I let them run the business, and they run the business.
Right.
So.
Interestingly, he said that he doesn't do interviews. He'll just take them out for dinner or put them into he'll spend some time with them at a bar or whatever.
So what's worked for me is that. So if I take Dent, for example, Dent's primary person is someone I've known for a long time, Glenn. Glenn runs Dent, and he has Zara, who works very closely with him, who does do interviews and does hire really well and does manage really well. And then there's Mike, and Mike is also like someone I've just hung out with.
Mike Reed.
Yeah, Mike Reed. So Glenn, Mike Reed, and Zara kind of run that business. They make all the day-to-day decisions. And then Score App, Steve, who I've known for a long time, and then Steve's brought on Mark. And then, Mark does amazing hiring and amazing management and all of those sorts of things. So, look, my mindset is that I need to have a primary couple of people that I really like and trust. But those people have to have the skill set of running a proper business.
Right.
Yeah. So I have multiple performance businesses now. A performance business turns into a lifestyle business once it's beyond a certain point.
Yeah. I always think like Sebastian Bates, we both know. We've basically watched him go from a startup to a lifestyle
to a performance business
to a lifestyle.
Yeah.
And it's exactly that.
Yeah.
When is this book out?
By the time this is out, it'll be out.
It'll be out. Well,
don't
underestimate the speed of our content creation, mate.
Yeah. Well, 20th of November is what's today, the 10th.
20th of November. Yeah. So it's out now. It's out end of this year. You talk about the side hustle in the book. What's the...
Yeah, so the book goes through a series of playbooks.
Yeah.
So playbook number 1 is the entrepreneur apprenticeship, which basically says in order to get past the fact that you have the wrong mindset, you need to be around an entrepreneur. So step 1 is you need to do whatever it takes to be around an entrepreneur and do 6 to 12 months or 6 to 24 months working as a number 2 for an entrepreneur. So let's say you've got a background in finance for big corporate, go be the finance director for an entrepreneur. Let's say you got a background in marketing, go be a marketing executive for an entrepreneur, right? Go and take on entrepreneur clients so that you get to a little bit of that magic rubs off.
You listening to this, Eve?
Yeah, there you go. He should be paying you for this. And then the second part is the side hustle, which is I want people to do an open and shut case that lasts for no more than 90 days. It's not your passion. It's not the rest of your life. It's just an entrepreneurial experience. So it could be as simple as take on 3 clients and see if you can do a little transformation project for those 3 clients, or run an event, host an event that you're gonna run, or it could be you want to do an e-commerce store, set up an e-commerce, see if you can sell 100 hoodies, whatever. I just want to see, can you actually do something that results in an entrepreneurial outcome?
Right.
So just test, just get your hands dirty. Try the experience of being entrepreneurial.
Yeah. I think people overthink that a little bit. They think they've got to have everything ready.
Yeah, in the book, I'm just like, look, I just want you to have some entrepreneurial experiences, right? So, for example, some of my side hustles was I bought 100 roses, and we wrapped them in paper, and then I took them door to door on Valentine's Day, and I bought 100. It's a long time ago, but I bought 100 roses for $40, and I sold them for $400, and 10x'd my money, and I just dressed in a tuxedo, knocked on doors, and sold the roses.
One of the questions I always ask myself, and I've always done this, but even now we have a lot more pulling power and a lot more capital or whatever, but we still do this. My wife can't believe it, but I always ask, like, how can I get the next thing for free? Or how can I do the business for free? Like, how can I be paid to build this? Or how can I...
Sell first. I love sell first, then build.
Sell first, yeah.
So in the book, I talk about, like, I'm already a multi-millionaire and I'm sending out DMs every day. For a new venture, I'm sending 100 to 200 DMs, and people are like, oh, why wouldn't you just run ads? Because you can afford to. Like in my other business, we're running 60 grand a month worth of ads.
Yeah.
And in this business, I'm firing off DMs because I want to see how people respond to each slightly different tweaked DM.
Yeah.
So like there's a part of the book where I talk about like sitting in the car, firing off 200 DMs.
Yeah. I think but there's a great confidence that comes with one, just surveying people. So Score App's perfect for that. I mean, we did $12 million by surveying people, and the great thing about that is Do you remember when I did KPI even? Like I was asking people what their problems were with money.
Yeah,
And I remember I showed you in lunch, I said, this is what I'm going to sell to these people.
And it's based upon
demand.
what they're telling me.
Which gave me confidence.
Yeah.
I asked them how much they'd want to pay for it.
And they also tell you the language they use.
Yeah.
So like they might say, I just want to be free. Like I just want to, I would like to be always free. And it's like, oh, wow. So, you know, you might have said, oh, well, the way I would say that is financially responsible.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be financially responsible. I want to be always free.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, so they tell you the language to use.
Yeah, and that gives you confidence in responses, answers, like survey questions. And then the worst case is you just don't build the product and you just give their money back. Like, because you can charge them before you get
you put a little deposit down, keep the deposits off to the side. Yeah, it's more just little tests. So all that's in the book, like how to test, I do something called a 150 test and a 30 test. So a 150 test is can you get 150 leads? And a 30 test is can you have 30 conversations? Right. So before you launch the business, can you generate 150 leads and can you have 30 conversations?
Why those numbers?
Well, actually, they're statistically significant numbers.
Right.
So when you generate 150 leads, it's going to tell you something about how hard it is to generate leads, how much it costs to generate a lead, what types of people are the leads.
Yeah.
So you actually, with 150, you have a bit of statistical significance.
Sample size, yeah.
Yeah, you got a decent sample. And then with talking to 30, you got a pretty decent sample as well. You're going to notice some trends in there. You know, so I've had times where I've done my 30 test, where I've spoken to 10 people and formed one opinion, spoken to 20 people and been confused, and then spoken to 30 people and gained clarity.
Yeah.
But the clarity is different to when I spoke to the first 10.
Yeah. We did this when lockdown hit. We decided to run these weekly 2-a-week strategy sessions. Like it was basically just a meet up and I'd run through like some of the problems and give some strategies away. I ran that for 2 years just to get, because a lot of people say they want to do these kind of automated webinars and all that and make sales and they think it doesn't convert. I ran that for 2 years, getting every insight, every like objection, every question. And then we pre-recorded something that was like the perfect 2 years of work, and it just converted like mad.
Because it's like a comedy special on Netflix. When you see a comedian who gets a comedy special on Netflix and they're standing in front of that big audience and everyone's laughing hysterically, that is like the 500th show they've done. Yeah. They started. There are these little comedy clubs that only have 40 or 50 people in the audience, and they're out of town. Every comedian, you can sometimes get the biggest name comedians who will go out to those little clubs because they're testing new material, and they want to do. They will. It's a standard thing that comedians do. Little rooms. That gets a laugh. That doesn't get a laugh. Right. They'll even watch back the footage. Right. They'll record it, and they'll go, okay, that just landed flat. You know, that didn't go down at all. Yeah. So then they'll try it differently. By the time they get to the Netflix special, they've done that 500 times. Yeah. You know, and that's why they can. The Netflix is the automation. That is the effectively the comedy special on autopilot because people can watch it on Netflix. But to get to that point, you've got to go through and you've got to be up close and personal. Same thing for me. You know, I was on Diary of a CEO and it hit pretty well, 3-4 million views. And all the content was stuff that I'd already spoken with hundreds of people before, real life content that I know works.
Yeah. Mate, you're so good with frameworks and everything as well. And one of the things that I've known Dan for a long time now, but one of the things I've noticed, I tried to pinpoint what I think your greatest skill is, and it is your ability to speak in analogies. You can just bring them off the cuff.
Yeah,
like,
I do.
I can see your brain going, and there was something you said on Necker. It was like, imagine you got like an arrow in your shoulder or something. And I was like, what are you talking about, man? Where's that come from? Like, where do you think that comes from?
I don't know, but analogies are definitely something that I've been, like a lot of people have said, you've got great analogies.
Have you practiced that?
No, it is genuinely a natural way of thinking. It's just a natural thing that I often like, and that is actually that has served me very well.
Of course.
Like a lot of my viral posts, they start with an analogy. Yeah. Like the other day I had one that went
because people understand you, right?
I was saying socialism is the hot stove that every second generation has to put their hand on and feel that it actually does burn you. right?
Yeah.
And people love that analogy of socialism being a hot stove that it doesn't matter how many people tell you don't touch the stove, it'll burn you. Every second generation has to touch the socialism hot stove. And that analogy, people are like, oh, okay, yeah. So it kind of was a viral analogy.
But the reason I asked the question is because you talk about frameworks and, you know, having intellectual property. You've got an advantage if you're naturally good at analogies. Do you have any tips for people who need to create their own analogy, their own framework or methodology of the skill inside their head or the knowledge inside their head?
ChatGPT is really good for this. So if you don't do it naturally, you can say, this is what I'm trying to say. Give me some frameworks for that. Give me some analogies.
So here's are the 5 steps that I think you need to do.
Yeah. Like, give me a framework for that. Or you might say, I'm trying to create a framework that gets people from this state to this state. Like, if someone's got a job and they want to go and start a business, what would be a 5-step framework for transitioning across? So ChatGPT is actually going to help you think in analogies or frameworks if that's not your natural strength. Everyone has a natural strength. Yeah. You know, you're very meticulous. You're very engineering. You got an engineering mindset. You like to engineer the process and come up with a repeatable system. You're very analytical, right? So that's going to be your natural strength. That's going to be less of my strength. I chunk up. Analogies are basically just chunking up to the core, the core story. What's this? Yeah. Let's chunk it up, and then what's this similar to? Same as frameworks. You're just chunking up to low resolution, directionally correct. What's this like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Great. Well, listen, thanks for coming on, mate.
Yeah, that was awesome.
It's been really cool. And go and grab a copy of this book because it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. I've bought every book.
Yeah, you got the whole set.
And I'm actually mentioned in this one, oversubscribed, but I live and breathe oversubscribed. I am like, if I puked, it would be that.
Yeah,
and
you applied it really well.
We nailed it. It really does work. So if you obviously know who Daniel Priestley is by now, so go and get the books. And mate, thanks again.
Cheers. Thank you.